Think mid-sized luxury cars, and the Mercedes-Benz C-Class has long been a leader. It's great value, great to drive and very comfortable. But Jaguar is hoping to change the equation with this, the all-new XE, which it hopes can steal some of that luxury high ground.
It's the most affordable Jaguar since 2010, with prices starting at about $60,000 and going all the way into six figures. The Mercedes C-Class too has a vast family, including various body styles and the potent C63 AMG Performance Hero.
But for this test, we're starting at the bottom with the most affordable XE you can buy, the 20T Prestige. And from Mercedes-Benz is the hugely popular C200.
The Jaguar gets a 2-litre turbocharged engine, which is actually developed by Ford. The rest of the car is pure Jag, with a sleek aluminium body, very much in keeping with the rest of the family. Inside too, it's all about the elegance, and loads of Jaguar touches, including the circular gear selector. The Mercedes is taller and slightly more upright, but with a truncated tail to give it an athletic look. There's lashings of chrome, particularly around the nose, something that gives it more bling than its British challenger. It's a formula that's clearly worked to make the C-Class the top-selling luxury car in the country.
Now, if this were a popularity contest, the Mercedes-Benz C-Class would be a hands-down winner. These days, the C-Class is among the best-selling cars. I mean, it really is impressive how many of these things they shift. In some ways, that could work against it. It doesn't have the exclusivity that some people may want when they're shelling out upwards of 60 grand. But what you can't criticise it for is the way it's presented. It's easy to see why this car's so popular. A really upmarket feel to the interior, nice circular air vents, and good metal finishes on them with attention to detail everywhere you look. It's certainly a Germanic feel to it, but a very upmarket flavour. The way it drives too is very much in keeping with that whole overall elegance and comfort that you get elsewhere. Really nicely settled ride. It's actually quite plush and does a really good job of soaking up all the bumps. It's very, very relaxed. When you start to wind it up a bit, it isn't phased at all. It's a really surprising car because from the outside it doesn't look, to me anyway, particularly sporty, but when you start driving it a little bit harder, it certainly rises to the occasion. It seems really unflustered, so you dive into a corner a fraction too quickly and the car just sorts it out. Yes, it's leaning on its nose a little bit, but it's overall coping with the situation really well. And again, doing it all while it's comfortable and relaxed. Now, the 4-cylinder turbo loses out a little bit on power, 135 kilowatts, but a fraction more torque, 300 newton meters. And interestingly, even though this is only a 7-speed auto versus the Jag's 8-speed, we actually got better performance times out of the Merc. So it actually took off a little bit quicker and feels a bit more sprightly, at least in those early acceleration periods.
It dashed to 100 kilometres an hour in 7.6 seconds, just 0.1 seconds quicker than the Jag. Put that down partly to the car being 65 kilograms lighter, even though its body is made of steel versus the Jaguar's aluminium.
The other thing the C-Class has got going for it is space. I guess you've only got to look at it from the outside to realise that it has got decent headroom. A fraction more than the Jag up front, a little bit more noticeable in the back where adults will be a bit more comfortable. And indeed, they've got a bit more legroom back there, so it's certainly, if you are looking to carry 4 or 5 people regularly, this car has an advantage. Merc's also thrown plenty of equipment at the C-Class. Even in this base model, guys, it doesn't feel like a stripped-out version. It's got quite an upmarket feel to it. It doesn't get an electrically adjustable steering wheel, but hey, that's a minor thing. But you do get the full suite of active safety features, so your blind spot warning, auto braking, things that can potentially stop you from having a crash in the first place. The magic of the C-Class though is its all-round ability. It's comfortable, it's composed, it's cruisy, it's luxurious. It does so much in a relatively affordable luxury package. Stepping into the Jag and it instantly feels different to all the German luxury cars, just the layout of the dash, which is quite clean, in some places a little bit boring and bland. But different and unique, and it's certainly there's some really impressive attention to detail. The stitching on the seats, the colour touchscreen works pretty well, and straight in front of the driver, everything I look at is pretty much Jag F-type. So you've got quite a small steering wheel, 2 big circular gauges staring straight at you. That speedo incidentally goes up to 280 k's an hour, perhaps a bit optimistic. And I find myself just looking at the digital readout rather than that big analog one. You also feel like you're sitting quite deep into the car rather than perched up on it. All about that sporty flavour, and quite a high window line, so the window's sitting right up there. Not a whole lot of space in the back. It is fairly tight in there. You've got effectively 2 seats. There is a middle seat, but good luck getting anyone in there. It's pretty tight stuff. Under the bonnet is a 2-litre turbo, 147 kilowatts of power, so it outdoes the Merc in that regard. It's slightly down on torque though, 280 newton metres, but really it's got plenty of punch for what is an entry-level car. Also revs out pretty cleanly and works well with the gearbox when you're running. 8-speed automatic. Around town sometimes it can feel a little bit lazy and occasionally get confused, but when you're on the run it works quite nicely. It does a really nice job.
Our performance testing showed that once underway, the Jaguar actually built speed slightly quicker than the Merc.
And the big thing with the XE, and any Jaguar for that matter, is the way it drives. It's got quite sharp and direct turn-in, so when you aim it at a corner, it reacts quite quickly and settles into the corner nicely. In some ways it takes a little bit of concentration just to make sure you don't overdo it. You don't want to point too quickly, but it does settle nicely. It also deals really nicely with bumps. If you hit a bump in the middle of a corner, it just settles, carries on and gets on with it. But all of that athleticism comes at a bit of a price. You do get a little bit of a stiffer ride, so it's not out of control, but you start to pick up some of the smaller bumps that in the Merc you may not necessarily notice. One thing I like with the Jag are the proportions. It's a really classic shape, but it's also quite a sporty shape. Sits pretty low, some nice details, and the wheels fill out the guards really nicely. It's just a very, very nice looking car. One thing the XE is not lacking is substance. It's got plenty of gear. Obviously leather electric seats, even electric steering wheel on this one I'm in, the reversing camera you expect, and a pretty good suite of active safety systems, including auto braking. So good stuff for the money.
Speaking of which, the Jaguar is $500 cheaper than the Mercedes and comes with an impressive prepaid servicing plan that costs $1,350 but covers your first 5 years of servicing.
I love that the Jag is a bit different, a bit unique, a bit un-German. It's a nice antidote to the Teutonic cars that are out there. So does the Jaguar have what it takes to topple the Benz? Well, not quite, but the XE is a really impressive effort.
In some ways, the Jaguar XE has encroached on some of the sports luxury ground previously occupied by BMW. It's impressive value and great to drive, and gets better the harder you push it. But it's easy to see why the Mercedes C-Class is so popular. It also offers plenty for the money and brings a more spacious body and more economical engine. It is a worthy winner, just.